With just 2 more weeks of the World Touring Car Series to go, we have found ourselves here at Donington Park for rounds 31 to 33 of the championship. Hello everybody, Paul Smith and Conor Maddock here in the commentary. And well, just after the exceptional race that we had last week at Brands Hatch, we come to another classic touring car venue at Donington Park, Connery. Do we hope for a bit more of the same?
Yeah, I hope so too. It seems like no matter what category of car that you take to this track in, you tend to get some good action. And just looking at the track map, you don't necessarily think that, but it really, really does tend to happen here at Donington Park. So it's a great host to our penultimate round of the championship here, as we are very quickly drawing ourselves to a close with regards to this season.
Yeah, absolutely. We've just got this week and then the championship finale next week from Silverstone, which you can see on screen right now. So, as I say, we started all the way back in July for the opening rounds of this championship. We've been to Spain, we've been to Italy, United States as well, before heading to the UK for these final 3 rounds of the championship. In your Pro Championship, well, Ross McFarlane has a 25-point lead over Jack Sedgwick right now. So the Pure Sims Esports driver leading the What's Cooking by CSS driver. Sindra Setsource for What's Cooking Racing Adventures is 79 points off of the championship leader. He's still within a hunt and a shout of winning that championship. David Baker, I think, is just that little bit far back now. It's going to be tough for him to win a championship along with Damien Harris. And then further back, Wojciech Zvinovic, Stefan Scheller, Jake Blackhall, Dan Martin and Tim Reinhardt round out the top 10. AM is even closer because it's just 18 points that separate Andreas Gilman's Impulse racing car and the What's Cooking by CSS driver of Craig Williams. Those two seem to be the only two that are in the championship hunt, because Andy Shield has got a 4-point lead over Martin Shirley, but those two are a bit back off of those championship leaders. Stuart Bickley is leading Maciej Sakovic with Slavomir Jaworski. Damien McQueen, who is actually back here this week, who was missing last time out. Elliot Roberts and Mikey Pollard round out the top 10. In your pro teams, 6 teams are in that, and it's Pure Sims Esports that have a healthy 739-point lead, and they can pretty much wrap up the championship this week. Semper Racing are in second ahead of RD Simsport, Wave Italy, Carla Esports and Fast Repair Motorsport. In the Pro-Am Teams Championship, it's What's Cooking by CSS that lead by 691 points over their compatriots in the What's Cooking Racing Adventures team. 3M UK third, ahead of Impulse Racing fourth. AI Race Summaries, DCW Racing Yellow and Blue 5th and 6th, with Team Mad rounding out the 7 teams. So qualifying is slowly coming to a close here. The checkered flag is out and the last few laps are being set here. We're on the national layout of Donington Park, so the laps are going to come thick and fast in these 3 20-minute races, Conor.
Yep, they absolutely are. 1 minute 11s here in qualifying, low 1 minute 11th in qualifying, and it's very, very close towards the top of the order too. 31 thousandths of a second separating Sindre Setsource and Savinovic at the moment as the front row, the starting grid for race 1. Here comes Ross McFarlane through the final sectors here. Let's see if he can have a last-ditch improvement, but no, he's going to dive on towards the pit lane and call it a day as far as qualifying is concerned. So about 30 seconds before we transfer into racing mode here. Looks like the grid is pretty much set as the drivers come across the line to finish their final laps.
And of all the lap times that have been set here, there's just 0.81 of a second covering 16 drivers. 2 drivers have not set a lap time. One is Andy Shiel, series admin, and the other is Elliot Roberts, and Roberts is currently not in the session at all, so I don't think he's going to be taking the start there, but it's incredibly close between all of your drivers out there in qualifying. But with that, qualifying is over, and we are now going to set ourselves up for the start of this first race of the evening, round 21, and it's a pole position for Sindre Setsource for the Was Cooking Racing Adventures. Alongside him on the front row of the grid is Wojciech Savinovic's Semper Racing Honda. Ross McFarlane, championship leader in Pro, he's currently in 3rd place, 2nd row of the grid with Dr. Navid Hussain, the Wave Italy, alongside him in 4th place. Jack Sedgwick directly behind his championship competitor in Pro, 3rd row of the grid with Jake Blackhall for PSMC Sports alongside him. David Baker then on row number 4 with the AM Championship contender, and closing down on the AM Championship lead, Craig Williams. Then behind on row number 5 is AM Championship leader Andreas Gilman for Impulse Racing. Alongside him, Damien Harris. Ben Palmer and Dan Martin share row number 6. 7th row of the grid for Damon Mulqueen and Martin Shirley. Maciej Sakovic and Slavomir Jaworski share row number 8. And in the last row of the grid, as I say, Andy Shiel is there, but we don't believe that Elliot Roberts is going to take the start. So the last few drivers getting themselves onto the grid here, Connery. The first race traditionally in this series, a bit of a calmer affair as everybody's in pace order.
Yep, that's tended to be what we see over the course of this season. Of course, there have been a couple of exceptions to that rule, but we'll see how things go here at Donington Park. Everyone just getting themselves ready now. We've got our front 2 rows on the starting grid there. We are, of course, like you said, not expecting Elliot Roberts at the back of the grid to join us for this one, so not expecting him to appear right at the very rear ends there as we wait to get going in towards Redgate for the first time this race day.
So, it is the start of round 31 of season 4 of the World Touring Car Series. Drivers look to the starter's gantry. And we're away then. It's a good launch from pole position for Sindre Setsource. Wojciech Savinovic gets a good start as well. Ross McFarlane is covering off Jack Sedgwick into turn number 1. And here comes Navid Hussain to the outside, trying to mix it up in his Honda. Out of Redgate corner. Hussain just runs a little bit wide. That's allowed Jack Sedgwick to go through. So that's a gain of position for Jack, which is important for him and his championship contention. Into the old hairpin for the first time then. Very easy to get a slowdown penalty through this section of the track as we go on up through Schwantz Curve into McLean's, and McFarlane looking at the back of Wojciech Savinovic as they head through McLean's. Up towards Coppice, this blind apex right-hander. We've got a couple of slowdown penalties towards the rear of the field, but Connery, so far, so good for the 17 drivers out there on track.
Yeah, pretty clean start indeed as we see ourselves charging down in towards the final chicane for the first time here in this one. Of course, we are on the national layout, so we don't do the whole Grand Prix loop down towards Melbourne, but out of the final corner we come. It is Setsource leading from Savinovic from McFarlane in that order, and he looks down in towards turn number 1. I don't think so, but I think we see a slowdown penalty from Mulqueen coming off of the chicane, and that is a big one to be serving down in towards turn 1.
Yeah, all the way to the back of the field. Andy Shiel actually did not take the race start either, so 16 cars on track as we head down the Craner curves into the old hairpin once again, and Setsource setting the pace. Savinovic looks to be a little bit more settled now on lap number 2. Maybe the Honda just having to get its tyres into a little bit of temperature and pressure. And now Wojciech is putting the pressure on Setsource as we're heading towards Coppice once again. As I say, we're going to get plenty of laps here in this race and in this evening of racing. So we're heading down towards the chicane at Roberts and Goddard's. Onto the brakes, using the curb on the right there. Try not to use the curb on the left there, because it can unsettle the car and push you wide out into the grass, which compromises you down the Wheatcroft straight here. And in towards Redgate. Oh, Ross just looking to the outside. There's no space there. That means that he's going to have to stay behind for the time being. Wojciech Savinovic, he has won races this season, but it's always been a second race for him of the evening. He's trying to get a race 1 victory as Damien Harris looking to make moves on Jake Blackhall.
Yeah, we've got Craig Williams and Gilman on the back of this one as well. That is your AM Championship lead battle happening there as they go 2 by 2 through the middle sector here. Of course, slowing each other up as it goes, so they're losing touch of the top 6 cars here. But look at that Blackhall trying to swing it around the outside. He'll maintain the outside here as well, and he's just about clear coming down on towards the back straight. But he's going to still be vulnerable coming into the chicane here, as Harris will be able to tuck up right behind and try and launch one here. But I don't think that's quite going to happen, especially in the early stages of race 1. You don't want to be ruining things too early.
No, absolutely not. As we've not even made it 4 minutes of racing yet, and already we're on to lap 4. So as I said, the laps are coming thick and fast, and things are getting a little bit close between Blackhall and Harris, as there's Williams, and again just rubbing door handles as they go through Hollywood down into the crane of curves. Harris, if he can hold it on the outside, gets the inside for the old hairpin onto the brakes. Blackhall just has to back out of that one then at that point, and Harris makes that move, and Williams immediately trying to take advantage ahead of them. David Baker's making moves on Naveed Hussain, and in fact does make that move. So the Pure Sims esports driver moving through. Blackhall and Williams there, but look to the front because Savinovic is making moves, and Ross McFarlane is boxed in here because Jack Sedgwick is right behind as they head towards the chicane. At the end of the lap, Setsource has got the line. Well, be careful not to make contact. And Sedgwick, I think, has got the best run of the lot.
Yeah, Cedric was able to crack one open underneath McFarlane, and they're able to draw it alongside down in towards the pit straight, but McFarlane might even be looking to send a London Savinovic here, maybe a little bit too far back to do so. They'll go single file through the first corner here, so first shots have been fired in this particular battle. It's quite interesting to see. Meanwhile, we have Jake Blackhall off. Your Sims car out in towards the gravel. That Civic gonna be bringing itself back onto circuit there, but I think it's kind of one of our first victims of this race.
I have a funny feeling, given the fact that that car was in the gravel trap, that it was assisted off the track, shall we say, as he goes through the old hairpin. Let's have a look then. This is down to Redgate. And remember, this is Craig Williams that he's racing against. The driver is trying to get the AM Championship lead, and it's hooked the car. It's whether enough space was left for Williams on the outside there, or whether Williams could have backed out of it as well. Back to live pictures, and it's still Setsource in front. Ross McFarlane's under some intense pressure, and look at this, all this fighting has slowed them down. Here comes Baker and Hussain into this fight, so all of a sudden Ross McFarlane's got a little bit of help from his teammate.
He has, and now Sedgwick having to be on the defense coming in through the first sector here. Hussain has been able to get to the inside of Baker. It'll be the inside for the first apex, inside for the first apex, outside for the second. But like you said, if you can maintain it for the inside of the old hairpin, you might be on for a good move. But no, Hussain has to fall in behind.
Yeah, so just had to back out of that one a little bit. He was compromised, and Baker was able to hold on to that one around the outside. So we've got the front six all together on track. And then just a little bit of a gap back to Damien Harris. Harris has been lapping quicker than the leaders, so he is dragging Andreas Gilman along with him. And I think crucially for Gilman, he's got ahead of Williams, with Williams getting involved with Jake Blackall. So that'll help Gilman with his championship fight. Here we are on board with Damien Harris as we're going down the Wheatcroft Straight once again. Onto the brakes into Redgate Corner, using that pit exit as much as possible. And then out the corner, through Hollywood, and then down into Craner Curves. Beautiful sweeping section of the track as David Mulqueen and Martin Shirley towards the rear of the field. They're having their own little race as well.
They are, of course, no shortage of places to look at on circuits with regards to close little battles, potential action on the cards. It is absolutely fantastic to see. We did have to do a little bit of a paint refresh there to see if we can get Naveed Hussein's paint working, but that seemingly did not work as well, so hence he's in a little bit of a weirder one compared to the rest of the field. But he's currently trying to apply pressure here to David Baker on the way down in towards the chicane. Again, not close enough, but the run through that chicane is so important, Paul, because it opens up this potential move in towards turn one.
It's not so much about the move into the run into the corner, it's the run out of it. And look at that one. I think that's a little bit too late and ambitious on the brakes there from Naveed. And here comes Damien Harris's teammate to go past him now. So from trying to gain a place, he's actually lost a place in that. And yeah, I think that was ambition above the ability of the car to slow down, unfortunately for Naveed.
No opportunity whatsoever. It was a hopeful lunge. I mean, it's one of those moves that you go for perhaps a little bit later on in the race, but we've still half the race to go. Perhaps not the smartest of ideas. A little bit of a swap behind, though. That's Craig Williams and Ben Palmer. Of course, Palmer in 10th place overall here at the moment. Of course, this is an AM versus pro battle, but as we've mentioned throughout this series, the pros and AMs are fighting for the same amount of points. So no matter how much you flash your headlights, Mr. Palmer, Craig Williams doesn't have to do anything. Yeah,
he can quite legitimately be there, and that's front to rear contact from Palmer. Fortunately, Craig Williams was able to go through, and actually I think it helped Craig through that chicane then. It pushed him down the Wheatcroft Straight, so actually that hindered Ben Palmer from his move through the field. There, speaking of moves, is Dan Martin on Slavomir Jaworski, making a place up there, so change of place further down your field. The front of the field, it's pretty much as it was, although saying that, Savinovic is there at the front, ahead of Set Source, so change of lead. That means that Savinovic, can he get his first race of the day victory here this season? I'll tell you what, he's got a tough job on hand, because he's got behind him Sindre Setsource, Ross McFarlane, Jack Sedgwick, David Baker, his old sparring partner, just loitering around at the back of them.
Yes, so there's every single chance that this battle can become just that little bit more spicy. I mean, we've seen a few little moves here and there already. It looks like McFarlane might have got himself a decent run out of the chicane, not enough to do anything with it in towards turn one, though, however. But it's something that Setsource does have to be aware of, lest he runs the risk of sliding a little bit further back in this leading pack than he really would have wanted to. Sakovic potentially having a bit of an issue there in the battle with Jaworski.
Yeah, he's dropped down. He was actually ahead of Dan Martin as well, so that's 2 places lost for Sakovic, and I would bet a penny that he's gone and got himself a slow down penalty on that final chicane. It's very easily done around here.
Yeah, it really takes no prisoners, and especially when it happens on the first lap or the end of the first lap, like we saw happen to Queen. Obviously, iRacing gives a bit more of a harsher penalty when it comes to a first lap on the slowdown, because it has nothing to go off of in terms of average lap time through a particular sector. So it just goes with the worst case scenario, and all of a sudden, hit with a massive slowdown penalty.
Drivers clattering the curbs at the end of the lap again with just under 8 minutes remaining. There's Setsos with a dive to the inside on Savinovic. It hasn't quite worked out for him. And I don't think he's going to stay alongside. No, he's not. So Savinovic has been able to hold on to that position. But, well, Sindre Setsos has set out his stall that he wants to move back to the lead of this race in his Audi RS3 LMS TCR as they go up through Schwanzkirch once again into McLean's, and now McFarlane now is making his intentions known. This is starting to heat up at the front of the field here.
3 different manufacturers inside the top 3 as well. The Honda leading, the Audi in second, the Hyundai Veloster at least in third. So it's great to see this. The balanced performance, 4 cars involved in this leading pack. I guess you can still kind of count Baker in this one. Meanwhile, movement behind as Hussein does battle once again with Harris on the way down in towards the chicane. He's going to come out on top this time around, but it has meant that this pack has split a little bit and more movement in the leading pack now.
Yeah, McFarlane trying to make the move on Setsos, trying to get the cut back and bang into the rear bumper, because McFarlane, that's going to compromise him on the exit of Redgate as they go through Hollywood into the Craner curves. And now Jack Sedgwick is making his presence known in that big imposing Audi. It's certainly got its place on the outside lane of a motorway, tailgating the rear bumper of a car. So McFarlane will be used to the sight of an Audi there that close. But and look at him, McFarlane's having to feel the need to go defensive here.
Yeah, well, Audi, I mean, there's no BMW TCR in iRacing, so we can't have that. But look at that ultra defensive from McFarlane coming down the back straight. Really not wanting Sedgwick to get up underneath him, but I think it might happen anyway into the chicane. No, Sedgwick thinks he wants to fight and try and continue on this race with 5.5 minutes left to go. Still ample opportunities to try and progress forwards up in towards those podium places. And of course, you've got the element of the championship on the line between these two as well. They don't want to give it up going for a risky move.
As they head once again downhill, and I can tell you this is a steep hill. I've been here to Donington Park a few times, and you can certainly get fit walking laps of this track, I can tell you. But the car, it just tumbles downhill through the Craner curves. It's a great section of track to watch cars on the limit, and certainly these drivers are putting these cars on the limit here in the sim on iRacing. Pleasure to have you all watching this one, as in the background of the shot, Gilman was actually trying to make moves on Damien Harris. There is the AM Championship leader. I think with him having Ben Palmer between himself and Craig Williams, he doesn't necessarily have to force a move on Harris, but if an opportunity comes up, he'll surely take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Faster on entry to the chicane, slower on exit. What we saw there from Gilman. And, like I said, the perhaps the more important part of that section is the exit rather than the entry. There's Naveed Hussein currently leading this 3-car trio here for P6, well and truly separated from the leading pack. Setsos under continuing pressure from McFarlane, and in fact he's dropping off the back of Savinovic at the moment.
Yeah, this is very telling now that this has very much swung around. We saw a little bit earlier on the graphic showing the conditions. Not the hottest of conditions here, so the drivers should be able to push on. But even so, that Audi, it is known for chewing through its tyres at the front a bit more than that Hyundai Veloster and the Honda Civic. So on board with Jack Sedgwick, and McFarlane. I'm surprised to see him pulling out that early. He's obviously not trying to use the slipstream at that point. Through the final chicane, look at how the cars just launch over those curbs. And across for another lap. We've got about 3 laps to go in this race. And still, you don't know who's going to be finishing on the podium and which step they're going to be finishing on. Because McFarlane, again, just showing his nose to Cedric Setsource.
Yeah, I think this has turned into a battle for P2 only here at the moment, because Savinovic has quite a comfortable gap here in towards these final couple of laps. A lot to work with, especially when those cars behind have been showing their noses at each other and getting each other's faces. It's a nice position for that number 80 car, separation machine, to be in, to take a race 1 win here today. Of course, we call it now. The gap's still only 6-7 tenths of a second, and if these guys behind can get organised, that can be, well, not easily gobbled up, but there's a chance of it happening.
I think they're just running out of time a little bit here, though, with this point of the race, because we're reaching 2 minutes to go in this one. And now, has Cedric just backed off and just looked after his tyres a little bit and now making a move? It's hard to say, but McFarlane's not quite as close to Setsource as he was. So Cedric now is the one putting the pressure on. This has been an intriguing fight all the way through the season between the 2 championship protagonists, and certainly they're putting on a good display here in this first race of the evening.
2 laps to go, so now is a better time than ever to try and squeak your way through. Of course, you have, well, Donington is no stranger to last lap dramas. Let's just say that, especially with that heavy braking zone right at the very end of the lap here. As they climb the hill. Again, it's just all about setting up for any potential move here. Of course, you're going to take an opportunity if one arises, if the car ahead of you makes a mistake. But look at the run that Cedric has out of the, well, out onto the back straight here. Is there going to be opportunity? No, not quite. Has to do it on the final lap.
Yeah, the grunt of the Audi just not quite enough to outpace the Veloster. There's the white flag being waved. 1 more lap to go here at Donington Park. About 1 minute and 11 seconds remain for these drivers to finish this race. Savinovic has been closed up a little bit. There's a little mistake from McFarlane running wide onto the grass, and that gives Cedric the opportunity to close right up to the back of McFarlane, onto the brakes, into the old hairpin. And as we say, this is your Pro Championship leaders, first and second place in the championship, fighting it out in the opening race of this evening's action. Onto the brakes, into McLean's for the final time. Cedric has got 1 more opportunity. He needs to set up Ross for the exit of Coppice. Compromise Ross through Coppice and then get a good run down the back straight. It's just not quite got that one done, so McFarlane should be able to keep his car ahead. But speaking of staying ahead, Wojciech Savinovic from Poland is just come out the final corner, and he's going to be the race winner in round 31 of the World Touring Car Championship. He takes the checkered flag ahead of Cedric Setsource, with Ross McFarlane able to hold on to 3rd place. Andreas Gilman, in the end, does get 1st place in AM, as Ben Palmer's had issues on this last lap. That's dropped him way down the order. But Gilman is your AM class victor ahead of Craig Williams, so not much difference between the 2 of those. There is your AM race winner here, finishing 8th overall. So that is the end of the first race. Of course, that does mean that we have to spin the wheel to decide what place is going to be getting reverse grid. Now, don't forget, if we do get a wheel spin of 16 or higher, then that does mean that we will get a full reverse grid. So, that wheel spins. Where will it stop? And the answer is... Oh, I can't believe we've done that. This is like 2 weeks in a row. 15 is the reverse grid draw, so that is the change of position there for the starting grid of race number 2. And well, let's have a look at that, because Wojciech Savinovic is your race winner by half a second for Semper Racing over Sindre Setsos in his Was Cooking Racing Adventures car. Ross McFarlane for Pure Sims Esports able to head off his championship rival Jack Sedgwick, 3rd and 4th between them. David Baker 5th ahead of the 2-Wave Italy drivers of Naveed Hussain and Damien Harris. The top of the AMs is Andreas Gilman for Impulse Racing, 8th place overall, only just short of 6 seconds behind your overall race winner. Great drive from Andreas. Craig Williams for Was Cooking by CSS in 2nd place in AM, 9th overall, with Dan Martin for RD Simsport rounding out the top 10. Slavomir Jaworski for Semper Racing finishes 11th ahead of Maciej Sakovic for Team Mad, getting an AM podium in 12th place. Ben Palmer finishes 13th ahead of Jake Blackhall. The driver who takes pole position for race number 2 of the evening is Damon Mulqueen, and one driver misses out on that reverse grid, Martin Shirley. Andy Shield and Elliot Roberts did not take the race start. So there we go, Connery, that's the opening race of the evening done and dusted, and we did get some good racing there. Wojciech Savinovic getting the race win in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. It's obviously he's one of the quote-unquote old guards of the series. I mean, many of the top drivers are. Let's be honest about that one. But it's definitely great to see him at the very top of the order, as he typically did in the early seasons of this particular championship. So he still got it. Let's just say that's never been in doubt.
Yeah, never would I say that Wojciech has not got it. That is for sure. He is still a rapid driver in a touring car. But in terms of your championship, I mean, first of all, to explain to people, we do have drop rounds. This is the last week that you can serve a drop score, because next week it's the championship decider. Whatever you score there, you take into the final championship point. So you want as good a score as possible here today to take as best a score overall in the championship going into that final week.
Yeah, you absolutely do. So I imagine that obviously that final round will be a big focus, but this one as well, to try and set yourself up for that one, because again, once we get to that final round, there's no bailout. Shall we say? Those results from Silverstone will count. So if you score nothing, then as through a DNF, disqualification, whatever, then that's it. You know, you get that big fat 0 on your scorecard, and there's no way that you can drop it. So it's going to be so important coming into that. You got to get yourself a good foundation, and then you got to do the execution when push comes to shove next week. But yeah, I mean, I am looking forward to the finale, but we've got 2 races to get out of the way before we get to that point.
Yeah, we do, absolutely. I'm just keeping an eye on the virtual paddock. Everybody's been rather quiet in there, so there's not much to report. Damien Harris had a good race, gained 3 places from 10th on the grid, not the best qualifying for him. Andreas Gilman, though, crucially, was able to get ahead of Craig Williams in that race to help him with his AM Championship, because remember, just going into this round, 18 points only separated the two.
Yeah, and 18 points is not a lot in this championship, especially when you consider that the top drivers are scoring in the thousands. So it's it's as close as you like with regards to AM Championship. Hopefully we get the Pro Championship that's close. That there's still ample opportunity for that to happen, because who knows what might happen in these next 2 races. But the fight between Williams and Gilman's going to be developing and being more interesting in these final couple of events, because we haven't really seen too much in terms of direct wheel-to-wheel fights between the 2 of them over the course of the season. We've seen bits and pieces here and there, but we haven't actually seen that rivalry out on circuit yet that much. So if we'll get to see it in these next 2 races, if we'll get to see it in the finale, then that's certainly what I want to see, because I want to see it decided out on circuit between the 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody's in agreement that you do want a championship decided on track. You don't want it decided in a steward's office post-event, which we have had in the past. So certainly these drivers will be duking it out on track. And I mean, Craig Williams is a hard charger. He's known for his race 2 wins here in this championship. So he'll be looking to, with him starting ahead of Gilman, he'll be looking to have a good race and charge up the field to get himself some big points now in the AM Championship.
Yeah, race 2s have always been a big chance for him to try and capitalise on the good starting position, because he typically, at least in the early parts of the season when we had more cars, he would be in and around that point where the reverse grid comes into effect. So he would start front couple of rows on the grid. So of course, this situation makes it a little bit more difficult for him because, again, slightly smaller grid as we head towards the back end of the season. He's been finishing a lot further up than he usually would be as an AMP driver, so in a first race. So it makes it difficult into a second and a third race to try and sieve through the field, just like someone like McFarlane or Setsource or Cedric has to do on regular occasions. So to not have that luxury in that way of starting in the front couple of rows is sometimes a bit sketchy, but at least he's finishing, ahead of most of the other faster drivers.
Well, we're just sat here waiting for the session to show up for us here. Oh, it is up. Okay, so it's just, it's not showing at my end. But anyway, what we will do then, in that case, is we will just step aside, hear from the series sponsors. You are watching the World Touring Car Series here on RaceSpotTV. Welcome back to live coverage of the World Touring Car Series here on RaceSpotTV. Paul Smith, Connery Maddock, bringing you all of the action here from the penultimate week of the championship. This race is going to be round number 32 of the season. It's been a long season, I can tell you. Temperature and conditions, they have actually slightly cooled on the track for the drivers out there, so similar conditions to what we saw in the first race.
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of we can be treated to a little bit of cloud cover here, which is why the track temps have climbed so high. It's a bit windy though, 18 kilometers an hour. Not as windy as in some parts of the UK today. Let's just say that, as we had a storm pass through, which is cause some disruption. But yeah, you know, manageable conditions out there on circuit right now, so no troubles later on in the race with regards to tyres and things like that. So it should be a relatively calm affair. But of course, you know, that is challenged by the fact that we have our reverse grid, of course, and we'll have people trying to work their way through typically slower traffic.
Yes, we certainly will. 16 cars on the grid for this one, like we had start the first race of the evening. Small grid, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're not going to get plenty of action, because in that first race we did have plenty of action go on, and now with that reverse grid, I do feel that Damon McQueen has really come off lucky with that reverse grid draw, and I'm sure the RD SimSport boss of Rob Sutherland will be disappointed that it's not his hard charger that finished 16th that starts on pole. Yeah,
it's unfortunate, but that's the way things happen. Sometimes you miss out on the reverse grid by one place, and you're just sort of cursing it, shall we say? So. But that's motorsport, unfortunately. You have to deal with what you've been given in a lot of cases, and we'll see how they go throughout this second event, and hopefully try and get that race 3 reverse grid place, which would be a decent place to be. But yeah, we're setting up for a pretty intriguing race here, I get the feeling, Paul. Of course, we have the AM battle between Gilman and Williams. We have the pro battle between Cedric and McFarlane. All starting in the sort of same place of real estate, shall we say, and with the complications of the slower traffic, it's going to make it interesting.
One person actually, now that I think about it, that missed out on the reverse grid draw, Martin Shirley, I actually think after the last time he started on pole position, he got very much bullied out of the way, didn't he? I think he'll be enjoying just having a nice calm evening here, starting from the back, and just watch what happens in front.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly a way to think about it. With the reverse grid, we have a higher chance at having some potentially pretty big instants out there on circuit, and if you can sit back behind and try to pick up the pieces, then that might be a decent spot to be in. But personally, I'd like to be at the very front. I don't know about you, Paul.
Well, let's just say the last time I started at the front of the grid here in this championship, I caused the mother of all accidents at Detroit, but that's neither here nor there. Yes, the driver's just getting the last few seconds of the warm-up before we get ourselves set for the grid for round number 32 of this championship. And we are heading towards the business end of this series. So the drivers will head themselves to the grid, and we shall get ourselves the grid up on screen for you to be able to see, and it will be Damon Mulqueen who starts on pole position for Synergy Sim Racing. Alongside him, fellow Antipodean of Jake Blackhall for Pure Sims Esports. There on the front row. Ben Palmer and Magic Sakovic, they're two drivers who knew each other through racing here on the sim. They start row number 2 with Slavomir Jaworski and Dan Martin at row number 3. Fourth row of the grid, and AM Championship rivals Craig Williams and Andreas Gilman. They're going to be starting alongside each other with Damien Harris and Dr. Naveed Hussain on row number 5, two teammates. David Baker and Jack Sedgwick starting row number 6. Cedric just starting ahead of his championship rival of Ross McFarlane. So Dresetsauce starting alongside him. And then the back row of the grid, it's Wojciech Savinovic, the race winner from the opening race of the evening, and Martin Shirley, the driver to miss out on the reverse grid draw for RD SimSport. So, just a few moments away from this one. And as I say, Connery, we've got two Antipodeans on the front row of the grid. Nothing bad at all can happen with that internet connection, can it?
No, absolutely not. So, hold on to your hats.
Yeah, that's going to be quite the run down towards turn number 1. between the two of them. But you want to look out for some of the Audis. The first one is Craig Williams, 7th on the grid, so row number 4. Watch out for a lightning start from that Audi. There it is, just on the 7th row of the grid. But the clock counts down to 0, and the drivers now will be looking towards the starting gantry and getting themselves set for round number 32 of the World Touring Car Series. It's a long hold, but the green comes out, and it's a good start from Jake Blackall. Ben Palmer's trying to come through and follow his fellow Pure Sims teammate, and Slimmy Jaworski making a move on Sakovic into turn number 1 at Redgate. McQueen runs wide, Blackall down the middle. He's trying to get the lead, but Ben Palmer has had a demon start. He's alongside the Pure Sims driver in towards the old hairpin for the first time, and it's Blackall who heads the field here as they come out of the old hairpin. Cars on the grass as they exit there, but it's overall a clean start, relatively speaking, apart from Setsol's taken to the grass.
Yeah, it is, and well, Ben Palmer having gone from the ultra offensive off to the start after getting a very, very good launch, immediately into a defense now.
Oh.
Jaworski slides his way through the right and out in towards the grass and the gravel. He goes, cycles all the way towards the very back of the field. 2-car breakaway at the front, a battle pack for 3rd place as well. There's Craig Williams, leader in AM, getting through on Damon Harris, continuing the battle that they had in race 1.
Now that either looked like it was contact from Craig Williams, or Jaworski got a wheel onto the grass under braking into Coppice, and that sent him around, as now Jack Sedgwick looks to make the move on Mulqueen. Mulqueen does not look comfortable out there in his Hyundai Elantra, and Sedgwick now is getting 6 places already in this race, as has Ross McFarlane. So your 2 Pro Championship leaders start the 2nd lap having an absolute wonderful run out there. We just don't capture that. Here we go then. It's a look to the inside, is it? Do you know what? He's actually got into the back of Palmer there. That's what's unsettled the car.
Yeah, absolutely. There was no one close behind to really be affecting him at this stage. So that was just a solo car incident for Jaworski, but due to the pack being so close together, especially in the first lap here, he's dropped all the way back to 15th, so 2nd to last. Of course, Sakovic in that 16th spot at the moment. He had his own issues in the opening stages here to drop him that far back. But you do quite rightfully point out the movers through the fields. McFarlane up in towards 7th place already. It would be impressive if he was 2nd place already, let me tell you that. But yeah, great progress, and in this leading train.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we've got a little bit of action further back as well. Setsol's working his way through. He's not had as good a start. Baker and Savinovic as well getting past Mulqueen. They're going downhill once again, down through the crane of curves onto the brakes, and Mulqueen runs wide onto the grass. That's not good, and that allows both Dan Martin and Martin Shirley to both go through past Mulqueen. So the pole sitter drops down the order. Speaking of dropping down the order, Ben Palmer takes to the race lead, and now Jake Blackall comes under pressure from Craig Williams.
Not sure what happened there, but Craig is now all over the back of the number 97 Pure Sims car. Let's see this on board with that with the What's Cooking by CSS car into the braking zone at the chicane, coming through outer goggles. Now Palmer, oh, he gets a huge slide coming off it. Williams keeps his foot in it and splits it down the middle, 3 wide.
Ever the opportunist, Craig Williams, can he hold on to the lead into Redgate? We've got 3 wide with Harris, Palmer and Blackall. Blackall's getting bullied out the way. Andreas Gilman now has come down the inside as they go through Hollywood, down the crane of curves. Jack Sedgwick now is trying to take advantage of that. He's got to be careful though, because Blackall is Ross McFarlane's teammate. Well, let's look back to what on earth happened to Ben Palmer. He had quite a comfortable lead in front of them all, got it all wrong going through the chicane, and Craig Williams breathes in forces his way through the middle of them all.
Yeah, incredible stuff. And then we saw the 3 wide in towards turn number 1, which can be sketchy. Very sketchy indeed, but these guys know how to hold it together, and they got through relatively unscathed. We'll return back to the live pictures now, because in the backer shot we have Cedric having to try and defend not only from Naveed Hussein, but also Ross McFarlane, who's trying to follow him through the field. Naveed goes deep though, tags the back of Cedric, who comes back into traffic. Oh no!
And that's David Baker. No, it's Jake Blackhall, sorry, that he's collected. Blackhall's had a nightmare of a lap, and both Cedric and Blackhall have got a mechanical meatball warning flag. Now, they do get a free repair, but I think this was a bit ambitious from Naveed Hussein to the inside, and he's just not alongside enough. Baker, Fallon's lucky in all of that. He really is.
Yeah, he's very, very lucky indeed. There's the fight side by side. There was a bit of contact into the braking zone between the two of them. Then, yeah, Naveed just goes way, way too deep. Blackhall has nowhere to go as he finds the Tarry barrier on the outside there as well. So that is very, very unfortunate there. But it kind of has played a bit of a spoiler in the battle for the Pro Championship now, hasn't it?
It certainly has, and what it's done is it's spread out this field now. So it's Craig Williams from Ben Palmer, Damien Harris, and Andreas Gilman. They're the front 4 that have broken away at the front of the field. Then Ross McFarlane leads Naveed Hussein. Then and Gilman's on the flashing lights. He wants by Damien Harris. You've got David Baker behind Naveed Hussein, and then Savidovic behind them. So the race 1 winner, he's been working his way through, up 7 places for Wojciech. I can tell you that Blackhall and Cedric are at the back of the field. They are back out of pit road after getting a free repair done, so they'll have brand new cars, but they'll be hoping that they don't actually get a reverse grid draw like we've seen in that first race of the evening.
Yeah, they'll hope for a maximum, or at least over 16 or over, excuse me, to be able to get themselves to the front of the field for race 3. I mean, there's still 13 minutes left in this, but that is, what, a 20.5 second gap for Blackhall to Sakovic in the next position further up. So, yeah, very, very unlikely at this stage of this, though. Savidovic versus Baker. Baker will give that one up pretty easy, allow Savidovic through. Knows Savidovic is going to be faster, might be able to follow through in his tyre tracks on the guys ahead potentially as well. So, yeah, not wanting to fight that one too much.
That does actually surprise me with David there. I know he's an astute, experienced driver who will play the percentages, the old risk-reward decision. Yeah, I'm surprised to see David just breathe out the throttle that way. Ben Palmer is all over the back of Craig Williams right now. These two were fighting in the opening race of the evening. Williams was able to get the upper hand by the end of the race, but he's going to be under all sorts of pressure here, and Palmer is going to be under all sorts of pressure from Damien Harris, the Wave Italy driver behind, as they come out of Coppice once again, down the Starkey Straight and heading towards the chicane at Roberts and Goddard's. 10 corner track this one, 3.1 kilometres in length, so the laps do come by thick and fast, and Williams, he's still holding a lead, but he's certainly got pressure behind.
It does, and while this front 4 keeping themselves in this tight-knit pack, Gilman on the back of it, so it's Williams and Gilman kind of sandwiching the pro drivers here in their own lead battle, as hopefully Gilman's internet does not suffer like it has done over the past couple of races. And of course, you know, that does make you a little bit uneasy sometimes when you see another car blink in and out like that. You sort of worry in the back of your mind a little bit, and then that sort of puts you off going for any risky moves on them because you have no idea whether or not they'll blink out in the middle of it or not.
Yeah, it is a funny situation to be in, and for you to have to assume and guess where a car will be. Now, Palmer was bump drafting Craig Williams right there. I think Palmer wants to try and get Williams moving along a bit, because you can see behind him just how close those two are, but also Ross McFarlane is keeping a pace with these drivers in this group. In fact, he's running quicker than these drivers in this group is McFarlane. He's dragging Naveed Hussain and Wojciech Savinovic. Savinovic, by the way, fastest lap of the race from him, so even though he's been working his way through the field, 7th place, fastest lap for Wojciech.
Yeah, working quietly in the background is Wojciech. It's very impressive to see. Hopefully he's able to reap the rewards in the final 9.5 minutes. We are running on board here with Gilman, who wanting to make forward progress, of course, because he knows that his direct championship rival is currently leading this race, and he has pro drivers in the way between him and getting onto the back of that Audi. So it's an awkward situation to be in, where it's the AM driver that wants to come through on the pro to try and go chase a position, and not the other way around.
Yeah, he'll be trying to say to both Palmer and Harris, come on, you two get past Williams so that I can then get to Craig and have our championship fight out on track. As we come across the line again, Harris looking to the inside at Redgate, Palmer showing the defensive line. Now Palmer does have an advantage that he has raced here in real life, so he has done full metal racing around here, and he is knowledgeable of this track. Plus, of course, the hundreds, if not thousands, of laps he would have done in the simulator around here as well. So he has got that knowledge, that intimate knowledge of the circuit, and that can come to help you in cases in the sim. Jake Blackall's got a slow down penalty, I can tell you, so he's not having a good day out there, and in fact drops a bit further back from Sakovic.
Palmer has been, over the past couple of laps, been taking that slightly shallower line in towards turn 1. Like you mentioned, it's a little bit more defensive there, especially, you know, understandable considering how closely Harris has been following in that Audi behind. So let's see if he does it again coming up towards Redgate this time around, because it is an interesting one, but it seems like it's not losing him too much time in the grand scheme of things. Let's see what he does towards turn 1 this time around. No, just a normal line this time.
Yeah, holding that line, you use the pit exit as much as you get away with, and out through there, through Hollywood there, and plunge downhill into the crane of curves. If you were seeing on the left hand side of your screen, Cedra Setsource has gained a place into 9th place for him. So the driver who was battling at the front of the field in race number 1, he's not been able to move through quite as quickly as some of the others out there. McFarlane and Savinovic have gained 8 places in this race. Craig Williams, I said, he started on row number 4, 7th place. He's up to the lead right now, 6 places gained, along with Damien Harris with 6 places gained. So some big movers there.
Yeah, it was a big move from Williams to try and gain this position. Just kept his foot nailed to the accelerator coming out of Goddard's, while the two in front were having their little bit of a squabble. Was able to shoot it down the middle 3 wide, was clear down in towards turn number 1, and then everyone else scrapped behind. That was a risky decision to keep committed to it from Williams, but it's something that has really, really paid off right now. Sometimes
those moves don't work out for you. On days like today, it looks like great opportunism and a good job well done. Sakovic and Mulqueen. Mulqueen, don't forget, started on pole position in this race. He's been going backwards, unfortunately, for the young man from down in the southern hemisphere. And that Elantra just doesn't look like a car that last season was very much the favoured car.
No, it's not. It really seems to be struggling, not only today, but the last couple of rounds, that's for sure. And it's definitely not the car of choice that people have gone for here in this one. Lots of Honda Civics out there. We have, of course, the smattering of Audis, and currently it is an Audi leading and an Audi in third place here at the moment. But yeah, it's interesting how these things change from season to season, with not only the series' own balanced performance, but also the one that iRacing decides to put in as well. Look at the commitment to turn one from Gilman, basically hissing the back bumper of Harris.
And look how McFarlane and Hussein and Savidovic have caught up to this leading quartet. So all of a sudden, you've got 7 cars in a line, all trying to get to the head of the field with 5 minutes remaining in this race. And I think Gilman has suddenly realised, has suddenly looked in his rearview mirror and gone, oh, that is 3 very quick drivers. I need to get a shift on here.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's kind of a requirement because Williams is leading this. He's got the points delta at the moment. The further back Gilman slides, the worse that's going to get, as long as no one passes Williams at the front. So he really has to try and fight tooth and nail for these positions. McFarlane looked like it, neither will Hussein or Savidovic, but that's just what they have to do.
Yeah, and Gilman, you know, it was one place that separated him and Williams in that opening race of the evening. McFarlane going defensive on Dr. Naveed Hussein, and they will hold position as they were. As Gilman's internet just playing up this a little bit again. Down through the crater curves. Now we've got about 3.5 laps remaining in this race. So time is running out if you're McFarlane, Hussein and Savidovic. Time is also running out if you're Palmer and Harris trying to go for a race win.
Yep, it is, but this entire front train of 7 cars all stacked together, it's great to see them this close late on in this event. We haven't seen any big lunges just yet, but we're getting to around about that time where the drivers will be thinking about those sorts of moves to try and make progress further up the field, because the opportunities right now are currently not coming to them. Gilman, of course, the one that really does have to get a move on if he wants to try and minimise the points lost to Williams, but he's found no way through on Harris just yet either.
Yeah, as we go across the line, 3 to go into the brakes. Oh, McFarlane getting very close to the back of Gilman there. And actually that compromises him on the exit of Redgate, heading downhill, and Naveed Hussein is looking busy, looking to get in the mirrors of McFarlane into the old hairpin, and through they go. Hyundai Veloster versus 2 Honda Civics behind. Up the hill they go. Gilman looking to make a move on Harris, and Harris is going defensive here. He's lost the lead couple as Harris, just that little bit of a gap between second and third place, and Gilman, try as he may, he just can't get this move done right now as we're heading down the Starkey Straight once again in towards the end of this lap, and we should be seeing 2 laps to go at the end, the start of this next lap.
Yeah, it's made tricky by the fact that Gilman's phasing in and out of existence. I'm not sure how McFarlane wants to try and negotiate this one, try and send it like on any other normal car, or play things a little bit more conservatively. Remember, his main championship rival is dead last at the moment, so really there's no pressing need for yet more points here. But if you want to make it look a bit more convincing, if you want a bit more of a buffer, then potentially you do want to go for this one. And it looks like he is still applying the pressure to the back here, despite the issues that Gilman has been going through, going through the old hairpin as well for that Pure Sim sports car.
Yeah, you're caught between 2 minds if you're Ross McFarlane. You want him to play it safe, get yourself some good points, but you also want to attack and get even more points in for your championship charge. Craig Williams has pulled out a gap over Ben Palmer, who has been reeled in by Damien Harris. So Palmer must have had a poor lap this lap to allow Harris to catch back on up to him. Or maybe he's looking in the mirror, seeing McFarlane being held up and thinking, right, if I hold up the front of this queue, then he might have a chance. But we're starting the last lap of this race. It's still Craig Williams, the AM driver, leading this one over Ben Palmer. Damien Harris for Wave Italy in third, and still Gilman, McFarlane, Hussein and Savinovic all together here on the start of this last lap.
Yeah, Williams is comfortable at the moment. It's the battle behind that's going to be the main feature for this final lap. No opportunities through the first sector, single file through the old hairpin as well. Where do you make the move if you're any one of these drivers? They haven't really been easy to come by here over the basically half of the race that we've seen these guys together. But you have to try and manufacture your own opportunity now. There's nose to bumper stuff going on though. Palmer on the defense.
Yep, had to take a defensive line out of McLean's to hold up Harris. That's holding up Gilman. They're all stacking up behind now. It's a battle for second, back to seventh as we're going down towards the final chicane for the final time this race. They launch over the curbs, but one driver who's singing all the way to the end is Craig Williams. Now, did Ben Palmer get a slow down penalty? He might have done, but across the line, it's going to be Craig Williams who wins. Andres Gilman classified in second place. He beats Damien Harris across the line. Oh, we're going to have a look at that one again. But my goodness, I wonder if it was Ben Palmer getting slow off of the final chicane caused Harris to back off. Let's have a look then. And yeah, the aerial view will have to take this. So there's Ben Palmer in that 3M Honda and the Wave Italy Audi heading towards the final chicane.
There we go, defensive inside line from Palmer. They'll have to return back to the wide arc through. That's what the Wave Italy car is doing. And oh, just shoves into the back bumper. And there goes Gilman all the way up to the line. The start line is the same as the finish line here at Donington Park. It doesn't, the timing beam isn't at the back of the grid, so you do have that run all the way to the line. And Gilman's thankful for that fact because it's netted him a P2.
Incredible stuff to end this second race of the evening, as the rest of your drivers have all finished their race as well. So what we will be able to do is get our final reverse grid draw of the evening out of the way. But what a win for Craig Williams, and Andres Gilman, after all of that, finishes in second place. It's an AM 1-2 in the race. But what is going to be the reverse grid draw for this final race? And it is going to be a full reverse grid. 18 is the draw, which basically means full reverse. That means that Jack Sedgwick will be going to live another day at least, but we'll confirm everything here with the provisional results of round 32 of the World Touring Car Series. Craig Williams from Was Cooking by CSS not only takes the overall victory, but also takes an AM victory here today, with Andreas Gilman second place in Impulse Racing, second place in AM as well for Impulse Racing. Damien Harris for Wave Italy is the top pro in the field. He finishes third ahead of Ross McFarlane for Pure Sims Esports fourth place. Wave Italy's Dr. Naveed Hussein finishes fifth in a rather controversial manner from the early going with Jake Blackall. Ben Palmer and Wojciech Savinovic finished 6th and 7th place ahead of Sendry Setsource. David Baker and Dan Martin round out the top 10. Martin Shirley 11th ahead of Slavomir Jaworski. Those two were having a really close ding-dong battle all the way through, as was Maciej Sakovic and Damon Mulqueen in 13th and 14th places. Jake Blackall and Jack Sedgwick, after that incident at the chicane, those two are at the back of the grid. But what that does mean is that for race number 3 of the evening, they'll be starting from the front of the grid, Connery.
Yep, they will be. That's going to be an intriguing battle between the two of them. However, I would expect that Cedric will try and stretch his legs at the front of the field. Of course, that's all contingent on a good start, and we know how the starts have been so influential over the course of this series, Paul. Where you can really just get it wrong, bogged down, and all of a sudden you're getting swarmed by so many cars behind. So a good starting position is not necessarily a guarantee that you'll be holding it at the end of lap number 1, but I wouldn't necessarily doubt Cedric's ability to get that thing off of the line. But yeah, what a crazy finish here we had to race 2. Of course, it was a calm affair for Williams at the front because he was able to gap in those last couple of laps and be clear. But the Red Sea parted for Gilman. that was crazy. We were talking about how he needed to minimize the points lost to Williams, and he just about managed to do it.
Yeah, he did just that indeed. I'm just looking at the virtual paddock and there's just one very long sorry from Naveed Hussain. And Jack Sedgwick doesn't give it a very much of a reply, shall we say. So, I mean, fortunately for Jack, this does count towards the drop scores.
Yes.
Does this round of the championship. The first 9 weeks of the... the first 11 weeks of the championship count as drop scores, potential drop scores from your results. It's week number 12 that Jack Sedgwick doesn't want things like that happening.
Yeah, absolutely, because it will count no matter what the drop score situation is. So at least it gets it out of his system now. Even though that incident that he had was not his fault by any means. It was Hussain that just overcommitted on the brakes there in a side-by-side battle with the car behind, and unfortunately tagging Sedgwick around where Sedgwick could really do nothing to avoid it. So it is unfortunate. I expect to see some form of penalty coming Hussain's way post-race, because of course these things aren't done in race here in the World Sim Racing series, not just this one but in all the others as well. So yeah, we'll have to see what comes of it. But the thing is, even if a penalty does come, that doesn't solve Sedgwick's lost points.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. So definitely... he'll have been spitting feathers after that one, I can imagine, in that. Jake Blackhall's going to be starting up at the front again with him. That's going to be intriguing to see how Jake gets on with his Honda off of the line. But that Audi is lightning off the line and can really help Jack with that one. What Jack wants is Ross McFarlane now to get involved in somebody else's incident like he did in that race.
Yeah, he wants to... you said it quite correctly. He wants to have McFarlane have problems to try and minimise, again, the points lost by that incident in race number 2. Of course, Sedgwick behind coming into this round as well certainly hasn't helped the situation. But as long as he can recover something from this race 3, I think he would not necessarily be happy, but be at least slightly content about how this race day has gone. But it does leave a lot of work to do in our finale.
It certainly does, and that finale will be coming up very shortly indeed, so make sure you do stick around with us here on RaceSpotTV, because coming up it's going to be the final race of the evening, round 33 of the World Touring Car Series. Make sure you stick around after these messages. Welcome back then to coverage of the penultimate week of season number 4 of the World Touring Car Series here on RaceSpotTV. Paul Smith and Conor Rimaddick here, and the big news coming into this final race of the evening is the conditions, because they have certainly got hotter, not in the air, but on track.
33 degrees now. As we have gotten a little bit later into the afternoon here, 22 minutes past 1, and these races don't take place on the same day of the year as we are in the real world, so it's the 15th of May simulated here, so hence the slightly warmer conditions, I would have thought. But yeah, 33 degrees, highest that we've seen. We had a morning race, we had a sort of slightly before noon race, and now into the afternoon. That temperature has really climbed and may be affecting things slightly. Not the hottest that we've ever seen, of course, certainly within the capabilities of the drivers, but it's just that one little extra element.
16 drivers will be taking to the grid for this final race of the evening, and this is the final opportunity to get themselves a bad result out of the way. Not that anybody wants to get a bad result, but if you're going to have it before the final week, then this is the race to do it in. Because as we kept on mentioning, the final week of the championship, you do not get to drop any scores in that particular event. So, got about 3 minutes remaining. Been great to have you all along watching this one. Rob Sutherland did think that it was a little bit harsh on Jack Sedgwick, what happened to him in race number 2. Timu, big fan of Jack's as well. Good to have you along as well here for this this final round. And an earlier comment from Gretzky in the chat as well. Nice to see multiple car manufacturers being competitive. Part of that is down to the work that the series admins do here, because they do have their own manual balance performance adjustment for this championship, don't they?
Yes, they do. There's multiple ways of editing the balance performance yourself inside of iRacing without having to rely on iRacing themselves to do it through patches and things like that. So you can add a weight penalty, and you can add what's called a power penalty as well. So those are the two tools that the race administrators use to try and even things out here for Augusta Series. Because as we all know, the iRacing balance performance isn't always quite perfect. So the way things work here, at least in this particular series, is that the Elantra has a 0.5% power reduction and an 8 kilos weight penalty, which is quite a bit actually, and probably one of the reasons why you don't actually see that many Elantras take part is because of the adjustment there. The Veloster has 0.5% power reduction and a 4 kilo penalty, and the Civic and the Audi actually have no BOP applied, so they're just as they are in normal iRacing official sessions. So those are the adjustments the race administrators have made for this series to try and get things a little bit more equal.
Yeah, certainly, and they've done pretty much a good job throughout the season. But of course, different tracks suit different cars as well, as we've seen throughout the season. And tonight it's quite a balanced assortment of cars. We don't have that many Hyundais out there. We've just got, what, 2 Velosters and an Elantra, and then the rest are the Honda Civic and the Audi RS3 LMS TCR. So they have got a good mix of cars, but it's what suits the different drivers as well. Me personally, when I was driving in the series, as soon as I could get out of the Elantra, I could, because a long wheelbase car just does not suit my style of driving. I like a car that rotates on the rear axle and gives me good turning, and the Veloster gave me that more than the Elantra, so that's why when I was racing this series I preferred the Veloster when that came into iRacing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm the same way. I mean, back when I did more road racing, I was more of an open wheel kind of person. So front wheel drive tin tops were kind of a big departure from what I would typically like. But yeah, everyone has their own preferences, of course, and as we've seen from this series and others, touring cars do give fantastic action as they do in the real world as well.
They certainly do that indeed. But with this, we are going to go into the final race of the evening. And well, what a mixed up grid this is going to be, because at the front of the field on pole position for the final race, it is Jack Sedgwick who has got an opportunity to get himself some big points in this final race. Starting alongside him is Jake Blackall. Second time this evening that Jake is starting on the front row of the grid. Damon Mulqueen and Magic Sakovic, they'll continue their fight on row number 2, with Slavomir Jaworski and Martin Shirley carrying on their fight in row number 3. Fourth row of the grid, Dan Martin and David Baker, with Sindre Setsource then on the 5th row, and alongside him, race 1 winner of the evening, Wojciech Savinovic, Ben Palmer and Dr. Naveed Hussain on row number 6. 7th row of the grid is Ross McFarlane and Damien Harris, and then right at the back of the grid, row number 8, your 2 AM Championship contenders, Andreas Gilman and Craig Williams. Are they going to be knocking each other about out there on track? Let's hope not. Let's have a good, nice, clean race. But Connery, final race of the evening. I mean, pretty much everybody's money is going to be on Jack Sedgwick for this one, isn't it?
Yeah, and you won't go far wrong by doing that. Of course, you know, one of the big championship contenders. He has quite a decent pace advantage over most of the drivers here today. Blackall might give him a run for his money, and he kind of has to do McFarlane a favour, really, as being in that Pure Sim stable. But it would require a fantastic launch from Blackall, a not great launch from Sedgwick for things to really change here, in my opinion.
Well, the drivers are set for the final time this evening and for the penultimate week of this season in the championship. It is round number 33 of the World Touring Car Series. Engine revs rise. Very, very long hold for the drivers, but we're away, and it is a tremendous launch from Jack Sedgwick on pole position. Takes to the front of the field, moves onto the natural racing line into Redgate corner. Damon Mulqueen slots in behind Jake Blackall with Sakovic and a couple of corner drivers off track, Jaworski and a couple others, and almost going 4 wide down the Craner curves for the first time. Fortunately, they all sort themselves out. Dan Martin gaining 2 places through Jaworski running wide there. Out the old hairpin for the first time and go up through Schranz Curve and in towards McLean's onto the brakes through the right hander. The tyres still cold and not up to pressures, so Sindre Setsource now the latest one to make the move. And Slavomir Jaworski, Semper Racing driver, moving backwards in his Veloster.
Clean start from everyone, top to tail of the field here at the moment. Craig Williams, though, struggling at the very back. Of course, hasn't made up a place just yet, and he started backwards. Oh, there we go, sending it down the inside. That is an incredible move from the 80 there. That's Savinovic. Oh. It's 4-3 wide in the back. Go on.
That was Gilman. Gilman, who's just returning back to the track. He's dropped all the way to the back of the field, so your AM Championship leader coming into this week, he's dropped all the way back. David Baker's been dumped off the track by Naveed Hussain into Redgate corner. He's back up and running again, but in 2 corners we've had 2 bits of incidents, one of which affecting a championship contender. So Andreas Gilman drops down to 15th at this point of the race as Palmer runs wide out of the old hairpin.
We'll see what happens to Baker here, as there's Naveed Hussain again going for a move that's not on. That one's a bit more egregious than we saw in race 2, but it's the opening couple of laps of the race. You don't send it to the inside 3 wide late on in towards turn number 1 like that. I'm afraid I'm going to have to try and call a spade in that situation, because I don't really like to see it. However, I'm going to try and find exactly what happened to Andreas Gilman here. There he is. Already having problems at this stage in that fight with the car of Ben Palmer, I believe. There, let's let this one run through.
Yeah, so this is opening laps of the race. Don't forget, your drivers are on cold tyres, cold brakes, tyres not up to pressure and temperature. Gilman made the move on Palmer. That allows Williams to follow him. And this is going down into the chicane. This is between Williams and Gilman. Onto the brakes. Oh, we need to be looking at Gilman. And it's contact between him and Williams. Now again, it's a question of, was there enough space left for Williams? He was alongside him.
Yep, we will have a little bit of a look at this little duel on the way down in towards the chicane. See Williams on the outside there. Yeah, just contact in the middle of the corner.
I see Williams has dropped back a bit though, going into the left part of that, and it's a question of whether he could have backed out in that one. I'll tell you what, I'm glad I'm not a steward in the series anymore, that is for sure. I would not want to be calling that one, especially when it's two championship contenders against each other.
Yeah, it's one that's a bit sketchy. Let's just say that. But the thing is, yeah. I mean, you kind of, as a steward, you kind of have to look at things without considering the names involved, right? That's kind of the main thing that you have to be as a steward. And I imagine there's some real life series that can learn from that. But yeah, you know, if there was a way to anonymize incidents like that and just have an impartial jury, I mean, I think we'll go very far. But the thing is, I don't think there's any practical way to anonymize it.
No, absolutely not. You need to have people who are knowledgeable enough to be race stewards, who have no knowledge of or preconceived idea of the drivers. McQueen had a slow down penalty. It's not been his day here in that Hyundai Elantra. Still finds himself in the lead of Am though at this stage, as Sakovic now coming under intense pressure from his fellow countryman Wojciech Savinovic. Two Honda Civics onto brakes. It's Team Mad versus Semper Racing. At the moment, Semper Racing is being held back
just a little bit as Savinovic tries to find a way. Sakovic and Savinovic, excuse me, try to find their way through here on this one. Of course, with the situation. Excuse me, I'm getting myself all confused there. It's Sakovic on the defense from Savinovic in this situation. Everything just goes into a bit of a blur. There's some form of logo that you might know on the side of that car, Mr. Paul Smith, as we see these battles go side by side up the hill.
I've heard he's a bit northern though, as they're still rubbing door handles. Oh, rubbing paint! Careful of the paintwork there, Majek, as they come down that Starkey straight once again in towards the chicane. This is great racing between, well, it's actually three Polish drivers here. Savinovic, you've got Jaworski, and you've got Sakovic, and now suddenly rocking up behind them, Damien Harris, who's gained 5 places, is making a move straight away on Jaworski down the inside in that way. Vitaly car, a little bit of a rub, but he had that move done, and now McFarlane's getting involved in all of this.
Yep, he is. McFarlane from the tail end of the field, looking to try and make some good progress here, but it's going to be very, very difficult to do, especially with the way these guys have been fighting, and it's going to allow McFarlane through all that easy. But of course, McFarlane, his best interest is to slive his way through, because Cedric leads this race at the moment. Losing points here in race 3 is McFarlane. Of course, he gained a whole bunch out of that race too, so it's not the most critical of issues, but it would certainly have him in a good position if he's able to try and minimise the losses here and have a bit of an easier time in that finale at Silverstone in not too distant future. McFarlane though, look at that, all over the back of Jaworski.
Gilman has dropped all the way to the back of the field. Ben Palmer's been off the track as well. I hate to put 2 and 2 together and get 17, but let's have a look. Palmer went defensive on Gilman into Coppice. Then Gilman's car, it does that blink, and And that's the problem. Palmer doesn't know where he is.
Yeah, there's really no one to blame there, apart from the internet. I think it's probably fair to say. I'm not saying this is the issue that Gilman has. Maybe he lives in some weird place where doesn't get a good internet connection, or is out in the middle of nowhere on satellite connection or something. But if you can, try and hardwire your sim rig to the internet via Ethernet. Don't use the Wi-Fi. That's my advice.
And he said that he isn't using the Wi-Fi still, Savinovic.
Okay. Fair enough.
And Sakovic, neck and neck between the two of them, and Damien Harris is getting boxed in here right now, so he can't make his way through. He's had to back out of that because these two are going hammer and tongs at this point. Oh, a little bit of a touch between the two, a bit more. Oh, dearie me. Somehow they make it through, and Savinovic ends up with a slowdown penalty. Here comes Harris, here comes McFarlane, here comes Jaworski. Savinovic has served that penalty, but in one little touch between two cars, Savinovic drops down to, 4 places?
Yeah, a couple of lost spots there as they continue on the fight down the hill. Through the left apex of corner curves as McFarlane finds a slot to get in behind through the old hairpin there and maintain position as Jaworski was not too far behind through that entire complex. It's a great little battle pack that we have here for 6th place and down. Of course, we will have to keep track on things further up the field, as that was Craig Williams looking to the inside of Savinovic. But the thing is, it's allowed Hussein to go down the inside.
Yeah, Naveed Hussein with his battered and bruised Honda, showing the guilt marks on that car from the contact with Baker, and Williams' car as well, having rear impact damage. So Williams hasn't been really moving forward like he would have liked to here to try and get one over Andreas Gilman, who's having a bad race. Naveed Hussein's got a slow down penalty as Damien Harris to the outside. Not going to get that move done, and McFarlane, well, he's just loitering with intent right now. He does want to move forward, but all of this is just allowing the top 5 to pull away. It's still Cedric at the front, and about a second and a third from Jake Blackhall. Sindra Setsource is in third, ahead of Dan Martin in 4th, and David McQueen still in 5th place.
Two teammates having a little bit of a side-by-side moment there. Semper Racing versus Semper Racing. Savinovic and Jaworski will sort their differences coming off the corner, with Savinovic ending up on top with regards to that one. But yeah, with half the race to go now, things still looking a little interesting here in this mid-pack. Of course, we do have a potential little thing brewing, well, maintaining quite close actually. Setsource and Martin. P3, P4 at the moment. Stan Myers has been quietly sort of working at things. He's been, well, quiet through race 1 and race 2, but race 3 seems like he's got himself solidified in the top 5 now. We're seeing more moves being made down in this battle pack as Harris goes down the inside, not quite going to maintain the overlap.
Oh, that's the opportunity. That is the opportunity for McFarlane that he was waiting for. Harris with the late move on Sakovic, wasn't able to do it. Side by side through the Craner curves, onto the brakes for the old hairpin, and McFarlane goes through. So Ross McFarlane, the Pro Championship contender and Championship leader coming into this week, he now finds himself into 7th place. But now he's got the unenviable challenge of trying to get past Magic Sakovic, who has been very much an impenetrable fortress here for 6th place.
Yeah, Sakovic has done very, very well in that number 8 car to be able to hold on to things. It's great to see, and it's something that can happen here in these reverse grid races where you have potentially a bit of a slower driver in terms of clear air pace in front of everyone else, but their defense is actually quite good. So it does mean that it's a bit of a struggle for the faster guys behind to try and come through. You can see Sakovic holding that inside line for as long as he dares, forces the Pure Sims car to go the long way around, but it's tough to do here at turn 1. Yeah,
Sakovic on that defensive line into Redgate through Hollywood. And he's just going to be... No, he's not been able to get the overlap clear. But he does have the inside line for the old hairpin. McFarlane, though, can carry the speed around the outside. And look at Savinovic suddenly rocket up behind them. He's gone past Harris. He's trying to get past Sakovic. This is a great piece of opportunistic driving from Savinovic. A little bit of a door bump between himself and Sakovic. Harris is coming up alongside Sakovic now, and Sakovic, through all that defensive effort, has now lost 2 places, almost about to lose 3, and Naveed Hussain is getting involved in this one. So too is Craig Williams. Oh, Hussain now looking right, looking left. Where does he go in all of this? It's absolutely craziness for 6th place, and Sakovic, big mistake through the chicane. That's going to allow Hussain to get the run on him.
Yeah, there's nothing much he can do about this one. We'll have to try and... Yeah, well, actually, he still maintains the inside in towards 10-1, so it's not quite done yet for this P9 battle for Sakovic, and it actually does maintain his position ahead of Hussain there. I was afraid he was going to drop in behind by the time of the braking zone. 10-1 arrived.
That was David Baker going off onto the grass at the back of this group. And it was a terse flash of the headlights from him. I think he felt that he was alongside Jaworski and had to bail to the grass. He's got a slow down penalty as Baker as well for all of that. So Sakovic now from 6th to 9th. Naveed Hussain making the move, the classic move into Coppice, and that's not how to make the overtake at Coppice. But Craig Williams, he won't mind. He's saying thank you very much. That's 2 places gained.
What's that, the 3rd or 4th incident Hussain has got himself involved in this race meeting? It's not a fantastic look. Meanwhile, Jaworski down the inside of Shirley. Shirley drops the position, might drop more as Hussain gets the run out of the corner on all of them. But yeah, another little bit of contact there from Hussain, and he's not the one that was looking good out of it.
No, he's not at all. Baker to the inside at Redgate. And Martin Shirley, where does he go? Well, he's now got Sakovic alongside him. Ben Palmer has been in the pits, and Setsource has moved ahead of Blackall. Blackall must have had a slowdown penalty or something, because he's dropped down 2 places all of a sudden, down to 4th place. He was looking comfortable in 2nd, but Setsource has been able to get by him on this lap.
Yeah, must have been an unforced error, shall we say, from Blackall to have that happen. We'll try and get a view of it. Well, he's already serving. No, he's not already serving it there just yet, but well,
I think he is.
He is, yeah.
I think he was already serving something there. It must have been from the chicane. It must have been from the chicane if he's already serving it there. And it was getting towards it, because you get 30 seconds, around 30 seconds to serve a slowdown penalty, and from the chicane through to the old hairpin, it's getting on for around 30 seconds.
Yeah, it must have been, but yeah, it drops Blackall 2 positions now. Might be able to get onto the back of Dan Martin and challenge him and try and gain at least a podium place back by the time this race is done, but it was looking like a relatively comfortable P2 for Blackall up until that very last moment there. So an unfortunate one, but we've seen the slowdown penalties through the chicanes a couple of times in the 3 races that we've had. Just ask David Mulqueen that. But his was more actually before the back straight, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was indeed. Well, Queen's actually having a much better final race of the evening, it must be said. So Damon, there he is in the all-black car, and he'll be certainly be cheering on the All Blacks in the Rugby World Cup coming towards its conclusion. So yeah, Damon across the line, 5th place, and heading towards the final. It's the final 3 laps of this race, so definitely an opportunity or 2 still out there for a few drivers. Speaking of opportunities, Slavomir Jaworski, Naveed Hussain and David Baker absolutely together for 10th. Jaworski makes a mistake. That's going to allow Hussain through. Baker just wasn't able to get up alongside.
He wasn't able to capitalize whatsoever, and has to remain in that line of cars. Still not a lot of time left remaining, so you do want to be pressing forward at this stage, and that's exactly what Baker is trying to do. Jaworski has a bit of damage to the rear ends there. Baker alongside, long way around, gets the drive off the corner, does he? Well, he's still going to have to deal with an overlap here up and towards Coppice. Onto the back straight, they'll come out of this corner. We've got Sakovic trying to recover as well.
Yeah, Sakovic trying his best to move forward here. Baker, great move around the outside of both McLean's and Coppice to get the job done. Sakovic to the inside at the chicane. We've seen him side by side with Jaworski's teammate, and look at the run that Shirley gets out of the chicane. That's what happens when you go too wide. You compromise both of you, and that allows somebody to get a run from behind. And Sakovic still not able to get the move completed on Jaworski. Finally does after, well, maybe that was a little bit of a squeeze there from Sakovic.
Yeah, a little bit of a shoulder wide, but in the end, it's a relatively small issue, non-issue really. But yeah, just a minute left in this race now. Still battle for the 12th spot here going on. Shirley, of course, capitalizing on that whole issue that was happening ahead of him. Race leader though, Cedric, it's been an easy day. Well, not an easy day, but an easy race at least for that number 10. Just cruising all the way to the finish now. He's got 4 seconds over set source, which is not a problem whatsoever. Closest battle further up the field is Martin and Blackwell, and of course Blackwell trying to recover from the slowdown penalty that he had, but we are on the final lap now. Let's see if there are any changes.
Jaworski has been able to get ahead of Sakovic. So Sakovic, Jaworski, they are going to carry on fighting to the end of this one. There's Andreas Gilman, by the way, behind. Flash of the headlights. Not so much the incident that happened to put Coppice between him and Ben Palmer, but earlier on when he was off, I think that would have been the one he would have felt aggrieved by. But certainly Jack Sedgwick has had the run of the track around this particular venue in this final race of the evening, and certainly he has just got the Starkey straight into the chicane for the final time in his Audi, over the curb, right and left, and Jack Sedgwick in round number 33 takes victory here in the World Touring Car Series. It was cooking by CSS car, takes the checkered flag. Sindre Setsaw second with Dan Martin third, and Damon Mulqueen takes an AM victory here in this final race of the evening. 5th place overall. Craig Williams is going to hold on to 9th place. That is big stuff for Craig in his battle for the AM Championship of Andreas Gilman, who finishes 15th in that race. All the drivers have come across the line that have finished the race, so we will be able to take you through your final race results here this evening. And well, what an evening's action here in the World Touring Car Series it has been. And it was Jack Sedgwick for the Was Cooking by CSS team who takes victory in his Audi. 3.9 seconds ahead of the Was Cooking Racing Adventures driver Sindre Setsaw, second place in his Audi. The first of the Hondas, Dan Martin for RD Simsport, was third ahead of Pure Sims Esports Jake Blackall, who made a mistake, got himself a slowdown penalty, and that cost him a potential podium. Damon Mulqueen gets an AM victory in the Hyundai Elantra, and he was able to finish ahead of Ross McFarlane, who finished 6th place. Wojciech Svinovic 7th ahead of Damon Harris at 8th. Craig Williams then 2nd place in AM, finishes 9th ahead of Dr. Naveed Hussain. 11th place for David Baker, who was unceremoniously dumped off the track at Redgate. He manages to recover to that 11th place. Martin Shirley gets the final podium spot in AM in 12th place for RD Simsport. Tommy Jaworski and Maciej Sakovic were fighting all the way to the end of that race, finishing 13th and 14th. And Andreas Gilman is the last of the runners in 15th, with Ben Palmer not finishing the race. Well, there we go, Connery, then. That is the penultimate week of the championship. And I think it has had some big championship connotations in terms of both Jack Sedgwick getting involved in race 2 with that incident for him, but also race 3 for Andreas Gilman in the AM Championship as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes things perhaps a little bit clearer as to who has the upper hand in the finale. Of course, in that case, it's going to be McFarlane for the pros, and it's going to be Williams for the AMs. But I wouldn't say it's done and dusted. That's for sure. It definitely is still in the balance somewhat. Yes, we have advantages and disadvantages going on, and it would require a bit of work for those drivers that are in second place in championships to be able to convert at Silverstone. But it means that we get an even more intriguing race. And if we do see a lot of people come back for the final round of the season, of course, that's going to be another little interesting element to consider as well.
It certainly is, but it's going to be an intriguing final week of the championship. Remember, all results are provisional here this evening, pending any post-race not scrutineering, but stewarding from the series stewards. But certainly, the last 2 weeks have been a bit more, a little less chaotic, shall we say. They've been a bit more action-packed in the correct way, shall we say.
Yeah, it's been a bit more of what we want to see, I think, because we went through a period where we had a lot of very, very silly incidents, is probably the best way to describe them. But yeah, the past couple of races, despite the slightly smaller grid, it's been actually weirdly more enjoyable to watch, other than because we don't have cars crashing out left, right, and center. So yeah, it's so hopefully we'll see the good racecraft and the good action continue into Silverstone to try and cap off the season.
And of course, speaking of Silverstone, next week we do head to Silverstone for the national circuit. So that means a nice short lap again. We're going to see plenty of slipstream in that one, because really, Connery, there's only the braking zones at Copse Corner, at Beckett's, and down into Brooklands where there's any sort of real braking. The rest of the time, you are flat out.
Yep, it's the great equalizer. There's not that many ways to try and find time at a circuit such as that, and with so few corners, it's pretty simple to practice. So it's everyone's going to be super close in qualifying. Of course, the draft is going to be a factor as well. So it's certainly an intriguing way to finish off the season with a track where you don't actually see that many differences between the drivers.
So make sure you join us next week, October the 26th, for the final round of the World Touring Car Series here on RaceSpotTV. It's 8 p.m. UK, well no, it's 7:45 p.m. UK time to join us on Thursday evening. It's been a pleasure to have you all along here on the broadcast. From myself, Paul Smith, from Connery Maddock, and from everybody behind the scenes at RaceSpotTV, we want to wish you a very good evening. Goodbye.